Mr. Sir, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm here.
yes, good to hear your voice. Please,
I'm
can
here.
you just give us like a 2-minute prayer just to open this session before as we continue?
All right. Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful evening. We celebrate you for another glorious opportunity we have to meet together. Lord, as Papa, people that have the like minds, Papa, to bring development in our individual respective region, and with our collective purpose, Papa, to make humanity smile as we move along in this vision in the name of Jesus. Give us the grace, give us the minds, give us the opportunity, Papa, we're looking for, Heavenly Father, to be able to put our heads and our minds together, our thoughts together to bring something fruitful that can solve humanity's problem in our generations and even generations to come in Jesus' name. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for guiding us. Thank you for the guest speaker that we have this evening. We pray, Father, Lord Almighty God, that it could be a wonderful, exciting, and fruitful discussion this day, that Lord, after this meeting, breakthrough and
all right. Thank you so much, for that. So I think we still have people joining us, right? But let me just quickly take us through what the focus will be, for today. And that, of course, will set the tone for how we want to roll, right, for this evening. So briefly, we're going to be looking at agribusiness. We're going to be looking at agribusiness. Of course, we will be spending, Sundays doing this one. Please, if you're not talking, can you mute your mic? Please, if you're not talking, can you just mute your mic? Can you mute your mic, please? Please, if you're not talking, Rogers.
Hello, good evening.
Rogers, please, can you mute your mic?
Yeah,
okay.
I cannot get a good audio.
Okay, so I think so like I was spreading the agenda for this evening will be in three sessions. The very first one, we're going to be looking at agribusiness and how the regulator is thinking about that. Because to do that one this evening, we have Dr. Robert Chakanda, among us. Then I will look at that. We're just going to spend very few minutes to look at that. So thereafter, I will now go into education and investments. If that permits us, we go to to investments. But it's a plan to cover agribusiness, one, and two, the education as well as investments. So by way of introduction, can we just quickly take a turn to introduce ourselves? Just your name and the country you are calling from. Your name and the country you are calling from. So thank you, Mr. Julius Sambo. I don't know if you want to go first or anybody.
Yes, I am Reverend Philly, calling from Sierra Leone.
All right, thank you. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. Mr. Julius, I saw your hand up before now.
Particularly in the North Sonkoli district.
Hello, good evening all. Yeah, I'm Julius Sambo from Sierra Leone.
Thank you, two people from Sierra Leone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Flora Monyo Pius from Northeastern Nigeria.
Thank you, Flora.
Everyone today.
Thank you, Flora from Nigeria. Who's going next?
Yeah, I am Cecil Rogers from Freetown, Sierra Leone.
Thank you, sir, from Sierra Leone. Please speak up. Please speak up. Speak up. You have the floor. You have the floor. You have the floor. Speak up. Hello, are we there? Okay, my own name is Toba Ayodele, calling from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria.
Hello, everybody. My name is George Binga, calling from Sierra Leone.
Thank you, Mr. George.
George Binga. This is George Binga from Moyambe, Sierra Leone.
Thank you, Mr. George. You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Samuel, we can hear you. Go ahead.
This is Samuel SCC from Moyamba, Sierra Leone.
You're welcome, sir.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody, beautiful people. This is Abu Kaloko from Freetown, Sierra Leone, West Africa.
Mr. Abu, you are welcome.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so we also have Dr. Robert Chakanda here on the call this evening. We are very privileged. We are highly honored to have you in our midst, sir.
Yeah, good evening from Freetown. This is Dr. Chakanda.
You are welcome, sir, Dr. Chakanda.
Yeah, but for some reason, I'm not getting proper audio. It's too low.
Oh, are you saying you can't hear us clearly?
No, I can't. I really have to put the phone to my ears, even though the volume of my phone has been put very high.
Oh, okay. Let me try to put off my video and see if that can actually. Hello, sir. Can you hear me now? Is it better now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, great. So, thank you. We are okay. Reverend, let us hear you now. Where are you calling from? Reverend Steve.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Go ahead, please. You're on mute. You're on mute. We can't hear you again. You're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, clearly.
Okay. I'm Dennis Philip Yao Yangsin. I'm calling from Freetown, Sierra Leone.
You're welcome, sir. Mr. Phillips. Reverend Steve, can we hear you? Let us hear your voice. Anyway, so when it comes, it's going to do, it's well known to the whole house. So by way of a background to where we are, this is speaking to Dr. Robert Chakanda. So a lot of us before now, a lot of the faces here, a lot of the people on this call, they've been part of the call from day one. From today, we make it like the 5th week, like week 5, that we'll be having a session like this on the kind of projects that we are working on. So by way of background, we have a company called Transit Capital Corp. So as a private equity firm, and as a private equity firm, so we actually have business interests in different areas. And one of the key areas where we have business interest is actually on agriculture. So we want to see that how can we also change the face of agriculture first in Sierra Leone before we now export it to other countries in West Africa and also other sub-Saharan Africa. But the pilot phase for our project at TCC, that is Transit Capital Corp, is actually from Sierra Leone. Like they say, that charity begins from home. So to do that, like I mentioned, today is the 5th week that we're meeting, on this same topic, and a lot of people, we've had series of brainstorming sessions, and we've had series of questions and answers. A lot of questions were answered almost satisfactorily, but we couldn't also provide, a total answer to some questions because they were coming from the aspect of regulators. And we are very glad to have you in our midst this evening, or it may be afternoon your time, depending on your location at the moment. We are very honored to have Dr. Robert Chakanda in our midst. So the very brief profile of Dr. Robert Chakanda has been sent to the platform. Currently, is the Executive Director of the Sierra Leone Seed Certification Agency. So a lot of what we are doing, we at one point or the other require some kind of a certification from the constituted authority over there in Sierra Leone. and to also see how the direction of the policies, as far as agriculture is concerned, and how we can also start planning ourselves towards taking advantage of most of those policies and most of those initiatives, as they are coming from from the government. So, and that's why we have Dr. Robert, Chakanda in our midst this evening. So please, wherever at all you are, if we have any questions and all those things, so we can trust God that Dr. Chakanda will do a lot of justice to any form of questions you may want to have, particularly as it borders on regulation, as it borders on policy, in Sierra Leone. So before now, in agri, we have a lot of different things within the agri value chain. However, we are very specific in the way we are thinking. So we are focusing on corn. We are focusing on soya, on soya oil. Right, we are focusing on corn. We are focusing on a soya oil. So, Reverend, you can also add. I know there's also one other product that I've not mentioned, but I can remember vividly the soya oil, as well as the corn that we are focusing on. So we are very specific as to the direction we are going, right? So that's just the brief summary, as to where we are, for now. The question will be, why Sierra Leone? Because we are building what we call a transit nation, where we have a lot of nationals from different, from different countries being part of the train. But we feel that Sierra Leone actually has huge expanse of arable land and all that. And then talking about poverty alleviation, talking about women empowerment, youth empowerment, so we have a lot of value chains embedded in this. And these are part of many reasons why we have chosen, to even commence first from Sierra Leone before we now take the initiative to other West African countries. So, Reverend, before I will hand over to Dr. Chakanda, so I don't know if there's any other thing you want to add. That's Reverend Steve. Is there anything you want to add before Dr. Chakanda will take over?
Hello.
Reverend Steve,
Hello.
are you there?
Can everyone hear me?
Doctor, we can hear you, sir.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
The
Doctor.
three products, one of the products that we'll talk about is groundnut. We're talking about corn, groundnut, and soya bean. Those are the three products that we are focusing on currently, just to support what our brother was talking about.
All right, thank you, sir. Reverend Sarah, yes, those are the three products that we are focusing on, as we are kickstarting this initiative, focusing on groundnuts, on soya beans, as well as corn, right? So, Dr. Chakanda, this is the background as to, where we are and all that. So, we would like to hear from you, just your thoughts about the kind of a platform we're building, the way we're thinking, the kind of business we want to do, and also if there's any form of a current policies, whether they're in the pipeline or they are already existing.
Okay, so I believe you want me to come on board, right?
What is it, sir?
I'm really getting problems hearing, but I think I get a few of what you said. Is it my turn to speak?
Oh, okay. So
yeah, I heard you were saying,
right
you gave a background on groundnut, corn, and soybeans, and
yes.
The agency I'm heading deals with seed certification. But let me throw more light on that one. SLESCA is not, the final product of all its activities is the certification of seeds that will be grown in this country. But SLESCA, basically, the agency looks into all seed activities, starting from importation, growing seed, selling seed, down to when the seed reaches the farmer. When it reaches the farmer, then that is the farmer that is going to grow it for grain or for the market. Then that's where the role of SLESCA stops. But we know that for any agriculture, you start with seed. And that is why it is very important that with this discussion, you've started with looking at how the seed component will be. For the first two crops that I had, maize and peanuts, these are grown in this country on a very average scale. Mind you, the agriculture in Sierra Leone is still phenomenal. I mean, when I say that, it's more of the traditional practice. There's no high-level companies growing them for the market. However, only for rice that we have large seed companies producing high-quality seed. So if we are bringing in maize and peanuts, we may start using the local varieties, which are also very good because we are not promoting our own grains or our own system where we can grow our seed for ourselves. But there are no big companies where we can get good quantities of those materials. We can, however, get bags of them, a reasonable quantity from the farmer stock. And if we go in early, like this year, and we say, listen, we want to grow them next year, we can get them. But I think importation of those will be the option. For rice, I'll make reference to rice because it's our staple crop. We did say we are not going to import rice seed. Government will not support the importation of rice seed into the country, but private sector can do that. So for the same for peanuts, cowpeas, peanuts, soybean, and maize, those can be imported. However, I would suggest that whatever crop we are importing should be from West Africa region, wherein we have them in our West African catalog. Because when you have it in the West African catalog, in the regional catalog, yeah, you're free to use it in Sierra Leone without any further ado. We may only have to do multi-locational trials. But initially, when I was talking to Steve, I understood that those probably some seeds will be brought in from Kenya. And if we do that, we may need some rare certification process. And also, there will be some regulations that will bar us or the entity that we are starting, that is the college, to do marketation. I mean, to do market. You cannot produce it for the market because it is not released in this country officially. So there are some bottlenecks there. But if we get them from within the West Africa region, yes, you can grow it in Sierra Leone and you can market it in Sierra Leone. And I believe when we talk about agro-business, you're thinking of your marketability, what you can grow and you sell, and even also be allowed to export. But if we bring it from outside the region, we may have to spend some years testing them. It has to go through some plant breeding processes before we can release them in the country officially. And then that may take 2 or 3 years or more. And adaptability will be a problem, but I will advise we get them from within. After that, I think one of the key issues we may want to look at, definitely if we get seeds from big companies, certification may not be a problem because the quality may be of reasonable standard. But when it comes to maize, only the traditional method of producing maize is existing in this country. So we may have to do a lot of training if we have to mechanize it to produce it on a large scale. And again, I will say, I think we may have to use foreign material because the only maize variety that we know in this part of Africa is the Western yellow, which is very, very old. It's really an archived variety in most countries. We didn't have any effective maize breeding in this country for several years. So we are still depending on Western yellow. It is still sweet. It's still a very good food material. But when it comes to commercial basis, the yield will be very low. And it's a rare old variety. In places like Ghana, Nigeria, Western yellow is really in the seed bank, in the gene bank. It's no longer commercialized. So there will be a lot of thinking around those. How can we get the right variety in, and how can we get the right seeds of those varieties, and how can we put it on a market scale? Because definitely, if you are talking of the kind of investment we are looking at, you want a large-scale production, you want to mechanize it, you need the technology to do that, you need to train the farmers. I'm not throwing in any spanners here. I'm saying it's a great opportunity for Sierra Leone because there's going to be training, there's going to be market focus, there's going to be real quality production for accessibility, for the consumers. We have a lot of poultry. One of the key areas that maize can be used, a lot of poultry industries are springing up here and there. But the bottleneck is how they get the maize to prepare the feed. So maize is going to be very, very important. So we encourage us to go for it. But these are the issues. We'll get the right variety in, get the right seeds of those varieties in, get good training materials, and then also train the good trainers that will come in for such an investment. Let's come to peanuts. It falls in the same category as maize. That's a leguminous crop. It doesn't need high-level fertilization when it comes to urea or nitrogen surpluses. But then you also need a lot of training because they are still at the traditional farmer level. There's hardly any commercial production, even to look at home consumption, let alone for exportation. So we may have to look at those as well. There are very good varieties. We released 2 varieties of peanuts in this country this year, which can be a starting point. So we can move on with that. Also, not to be too bleak, going back to maize, there's a seed company that we released maize for, but you're looking at 2 or 3 year period to really multiply those to a commercial level. So we may still be thinking for maize and peanuts for importation of planting materials or seed. Coming to soybean, I think soybean production is even far behind when you consider maize and peanuts, because it's not too advanced in this country. So we may need some level of training, a high level of training for soybean. It's also leguminous, and it attracts a lot of pests. There are areas around it for a crop to really stand. So these are the opportunities that we have. Sierra Leone is a virgin ground for such an investment. We only have to know when we come in and the kind of investment we want to put in, but it should be at the back of our minds that first, getting the seed from international circles, we may want to cut time short and to use the seeds directly in the country. Let's get them from within the West Africa region. If we bring it from Kenya, nobody's stopping anyone to bring foreign materials from far afield, but they may have to go through some rigorous plant breeding screening, and for it to be released in the country before we can use it for marketing. So in short, let me not say too much, but let me stop here. Probably there are questions that I can answer.
Amos. Amos, I think your connection is a bit challenging. Well, I want to express my gratitude on behalf of TCC to welcome Dr. Robert Chakanda here in the meeting. I know his schedule has been extremely tight. He would have been here much earlier, but I want to still express my gratitude for being here and taking your time and being with us today. We're excited to have you, just to hear your voice and the tremendous experience that you bring to the table gives even my international partners like Sarah and the others a level of confidence that I myself may not have been able to bring to on the table. So anytime I see Mr. Dennis Yangsin, who I'm seeing he just signed up and he's here, I know he was traveling to the provinces and network was challenging. I'm glad that he's also able to make it. And I want to continue to express my gratitude to Dr. Chakanda for being with us here today. I know there are many questions that have been coming, especially last week. Your name kept coming very often, and there were so many questions and concerns about certification processes, about some of the things that you have highlighted. So I'm happy that you are here. And so we are going to give the opportunity to everybody to be able to ask questions and interact. We have Mr. Dennis Yankson. Mr. Dennis, can you unmute? Would you be able to speak? Are you at a place that you could be able to say something, sir? Mr. Dennis Yankson is the Director of Crops and Fertilizer in the Ministry of Agriculture in Sierra Leone. And I've been working with him as well. And I've been working with Dr. Chakanda as well. So like Madam Sarah said at the starting of all of this, that this is a partnership relationship between the policymakers, the government, and also with the investors and with the farmers that wants to come and farm. And I'm very happy that they embrace us and they are ready to guide us and they are ready to support us. So I want to assure everyone that we are together on this. The quick thing as we are planning to ask our questions that I had him emphasize a lot is training. I remember him repeating the word training, quality training, trainers. And I know soybeans may not be a common product in Sierra Leone right now and in many countries, but interestingly, in the global stage, it's a highly priced product. It's a highly priced product. And one of the confidence that I have in this whole process is that we have a very strategic partner in Madam Sarah Ngwenya from Zambia. By the way, the seeds that we were trying to bring is actually from Zambia and not Kenya. And Madam Sarah is committed. She's passionate about agriculture. She has demonstrated it for the past decade in a very successful way. And for somebody to be leading people, more than 3,000 women in rural community and be able to do it for year after year and has been receiving awards and recognitions in Zambia and outside, we are confident. And for us to know the level of confidence that and commitment that she brings to the table, knowing where we are going, having been where we are yet to be in Sierra Leone, she herself and her company have committed $100,000 towards what we are doing in Sierra Leone. So if she has already advanced 40% of what is required, I mean, I'm excited. I am excited. I believe that we would come through for this. So I want to open this time. And we have Mr. Dennis Yankson. We have Dr. Robert Chakanda here with us. Let us have some interactions. If you have some questions, let's hear them. Thank you so much. Everybody's mute. So if you want to ask a question, please.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Doc, thank you for coming. Anybody, any questions for Doc? Okay, so Doc, there is a question on the platform, on our text box, and somebody asked that what if we get the seed coming from Zambia with certification already, haven't been tested? Would we still, as a private sector, not as a government, would we be able to plant them and be replicating them, but we are not selling them to the market, while the Ministry of Agriculture and your directorate is going through the process of testing? Would that be okay, Doc?
Yes, as long as it comes with the right certification and from the right institution, because we have to verify those as well, it will be grown in Sierra Leone. However, like I said, there will be some, it's also a good thing that we don't take too many risks, because Zambia is all the way in the eastern part of Africa. We don't know how far the adaptability question will be. You know, I remember one time I brought some maize materials and sorghum from East Africa, actually from Zimbabwe. And we tried growing them here, and we had a lot of problems with the health. You know, it may have a phytosanitary certificate from Zambia that it is healthy and so forth, but it's not well adapted to our own diseases and our pests here, and also the soils. So bringing large quantities in just at one time and want to grow it on the scale of at the commercial level might be risky for the company.
Okay.
So it's not like the restriction is such that you will not be allowed to grow as long as there's a certification from a known institution across Africa. We may have to test it also because in transit between Zambia and here, anything could have happened. The temperature, I mean, the moisture content may have changed, and a couple of factors if they are not really transported in a qualified seed container. And that's one of our problems. Even the materials imported from Europe, the vegetable seeds, by the time they arrive here, they go through so much stress. You can still get 100% germination, but the stress will make it yield less because of what it has gone through during shipment. So to answer your question directly, yes, it can be grown here. We can, as long as it's also used for a training material. I mean, to train farmers and to prepare for commercial production. Yes, it can be grown. We can give certificates on that. However, it cannot be marketed because it's not only Sierra Leone that will stop the marketing. We have regional regulations that will hold it back because there are taxations. There are all kinds of regulations to say, I mean, bringing in material from outside of the catalog and doing business with it. Other companies from within the region may jump at us. So it's more of regulations and the laws within the region, of course, and within the country. So that's why it will have to go through a series of, I will give you an example. We had some rice varieties, very good ones from Vietnam. And we brought them into this country. It is a seed company that brought it, but it still had to go through some breeding process. Breeding, not changing the genetic material, but doing multi-locational tests. And also one disadvantage that they had, even though it's a good variety, it has to be mechanized. We have to use harvesters, So that one you cannot give to the traditional farmers because they harvest with hand. And we released it with that condition. So some years back, they brought in some foreign material, even when Slesca was not fully operational, and the height of the variety was so low. I mean, where they got the variety from, it was good. It was, I mean, they gave good height, good yield, but because it came to a foreign land from across the globe, the height was stunted. So the women farmers had to virtually throw it away, So these questions come in not by the physical regulations in the act, but it might create some losses if the company is not careful. So that's why some testing may be required.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. I think that is very clear. And
okay. I have a question, right?
Yeah, go.
So, Doctor, sir, my question is this: if we bring something, let's say from the all the way from the Northern America, Northern Africa, for instance, the essence of since it is still within Africa, so the essence of subjecting it to rigorous tests and all those things. I'm just trying to understand: is it because of the technical, component, or because we just want to, just to protect the trade, among the West African states? Because, for instance, I would have expected, okay, if you bring something, from the North Africa, for instance, or or South Africa, it might just be able to just do well without even subjected to rigorous tests and all that. But is it, if you want to look at the weighting, is it want to give? Is it that we're trying to protect the trade among the West African countries? All of that.
I think it's all of the above, because when it comes to money, people are very sensitive. Like if we want to promote some unreleased varieties here, and we didn't regard the trade laws around seed, somebody who is losing money on the other side may try to catch up with us. So we have to be careful that we read the regulations, intensely to make sure we are not offending anybody in the sub-region. Please, when I'm saying these things, you see, I'm being careful also. I don't want it to be like a deterrent to the prospects. But however, we have to keep it in mind that we may have to do some research around that, which I know they exist, and to see how best we can get around it when it comes up. The trade issue even within Sierra Leone, it is still not well established. For example, we import onion seeds into this country, and because we are not yet fully established and we cannot produce onion seeds in Sierra Leone, there are exemptions there, you know, and we have large onion growers. A lot of traditional farmers grow onions, so we are not going to look at it to say we have to test it first across the country. So we are very particular first of the food security crops, and these include rice, maize for nutrition, maize for snacks, peanuts for nutrition, for the protein, and now we are bringing in soybean. So the regulations are not biting, they are not teeth biting, but we have to keep it in mind that it will come one day. Last year or 2 years ago, even what I'm telling you about seed certification was not existing. It's only now, like a year ago, that Slesca has been fully operational, and we are putting in our value chain in place. Yangtze knows about that. Mr. Yangtze has been very instrumental working with us, him being on the fertilizer side. So we are trying to put, and the company is coming in at a time which I say is a blessing, because when those seed regulations were not operational, everything was so haphazard in the country. We had more than 250 vendors, registered vendors, which we are doing nothing but coming for contracts when they hear there's a seed contract. But now we are putting every mechanism in place that when such a company like Transit is coming into Sierra Leone, there will be no hiccups for what they are trying to do. So basically, I think it's the right time, which means we should pay attention to, like, if you're doing any business in the US or in Europe, at least there are some regulations that we look at.
Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much. I see Madam Ruth, your hand has been up, and after that, I saw Madam Sarah's hand as well. So Madam Ruth, can you go ahead, please?
Good evening, everybody.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, this is Ruth from Sierra Leone.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Doc. We've been expecting you, and of course, Mr. Yangtze on board and others. Just a few questions, sir. And of course, you mentioned that the regulations, they are not teeth biting, but what is clear, what I want to focus on is the technical advice, being that this is not just agriculture for agriculture's sake, but also it's a marketing related activity, which we are making profit at the end of the day. So we don't want to go into any loss at the end of the day. So, sir, product you mentioned, I came late, but I had you looking at the possibility of us having highest or high production for some of them, and for some advising we might need to be looking at the need for breeding, testing and others. So among these products, which of them will you advise us to go into a full scale 100%? I know some of them we might need to do testing or breeding at a lower scale. But if we want to look at preference for these ones, we know these are the ones we've planned to go into. But are there other ones you might want to recommend to the team to consider beside these? Or if these are in place, let's look at preference, as I've said. Which one among them should we start with first? The first two, or the one at the last or the third of the scale that we should consider doing various technical testing before going into full scale? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Madam Ruth. I appreciate it. I don't know, Doc, if you want to take it on, or should we? Madam Sarah, your hand was up before I bring in Mr. Jackson.
Maybe, do you think if I can go so we don't forget the very important
Okay, go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, because it's a very, very important question.
Mm-hmm.
I always make my point with examples. Normally, you see somebody who is growing cassava and his expertise in growing cassava suddenly changes to growing pepper. And you find out normally they have a lot of problems because they don't have the nitty-gritties of doing what they should be doing to get the right yield. Actually, soybean is not too native to this country. It's not being produced at any scale. So for me, I will give it the least preference. Not that we close it down, but probably we'll bring it in slowly and do some work with it and train people to grow it. Maize really is a big hit because, like I said, a lot of poultries are coming up. And people try to bring it in on small scales to grow them, and normally they flop. They don't yield anything because the technical skills are absent. So we may want to start with maize. If possible, bring in some hybrids. That is allowed as long as they are not GMOs. This country shies away from GMOs for now.
Very good. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Yankson, go ahead, and then Madam Sarah will come. Mr. Yankson.
Hybrid.
Oh. I think the network is giving Doc some hard time. Doc, you've been muted.
Yes, because he has not yet answered all the questions.
Okay. The network is giving some hard time. Doc, you are muted. I don't know if you can hear me, but your phone is muted.
To be of some. Hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now, sir.
All right, okay. So it's a technique that we may have to train them into at higher levels. So maize will be the first option, and the market is very good, even for the sub-region, for poultry. Then the peanuts. Peanuts also is part of the poultry feed, but also it has got a lot of side uses. I mean, just apart from being snack, I mean, you can get oil from it. And a lot of farmers are growing peanut. They are used to it. It's only a little bit of training. Saying that means the labor we will have to get from Sierra Leone. I mean, we are very much forceful a little bit on the local content, providing labor. So if you get farmers who are used to growing their traditional peanuts, you only have to train them a little bit to catch up with the commercial level of handling the crop. So I will give the first two preferences to the peanuts and the maize. Soybean may be some time to come,
Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Mr. Dennis Yankson, we can see your hand up. Could you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, I strongly agree with Dr. Chakanda in terms of priority for crops to be considered. Given the current trend in Sierra Leone, maize is in high demand, given that there is proliferation of livestock industry, because most livestock farmers require maize as source of feed to support their industry. And this has been a challenge. In fact, the demand is so high that it's far outweighs the supply in the country.
Wow.
Even though maize is cultivated 3 times per year, mostly at the beginning of the rains in May, June, and also in September. And also we also cultivate maize at the end of the year, at least early between December and January and February, making use of residual moisture in the IVS after rice will have been harvested. But even with that, the availability is still low, and there has been a lot of challenges in terms of farmers meeting the needs of the livestock sector. So we need to intensify maize production. So the intervention will actually be timely given the current situation in Sierra Leone. And as Dr. Chakanda mentioned, we have few varieties. Of course, we are using yellow maize in Sierra Leone, Western yellow, and there were 2 others released as well, TZSR yellow and DMR-ESR yellow. These varieties are already adopted by farmers, but the most popular is Western yellow. And also, we all know maize is a high fertilizer requirements crop, because this has been a challenge. Looking at the current status of fertilizer in Sierra Leone, the cost of fertilizer worldwide is very high. So this means there will be need for a lot of fertilizer importation to support maize production, And then groundnuts, of course, we all know is mostly cultivated by women, but generally, in terms of commercial scale, it is not widely cultivated on this commercial scale, mostly by small-scale farmers. but the price of groundnuts is very high compared to rice. And again, it will bring income for the project. There are mostly two varieties. We have what we refer to as GL24, and there's another one called Maris. But Maris is the one that is widely cultivated in the country. GL24 is slightly bigger in terms of size, the pod size. But again, I'll recommend the two. For soybean, is not widely grown, even though there are a few farmers that are cultivating soybean, and it has high processing demands. Slurry has been promoting this with a lot of recipes being promoted by the research outfits, because they can also do soya milk, they can do vegetable oil. In fact, I'm seeing now in Sierra Leone, they are producing soya milk, and just like they sell soft drink in the market, I see soya milk in the market. So this means there is potential for increase in production of soybean that can support that particular industry. Again, while I appreciate comments from other countries regarding introduction of new varieties, I'm particularly happy that Dr. Chakanda has flagged the issue of SLEXA's role in terms of control and regulation of the seeds in the country, and to ensure that we don't introduce seeds for the sake of introducing, but seeds that can stand the test of time. And there is regional regulation for seeds in this country. While we have the Sierra Leone Seed Certification Agency, which governs the country, but it's also linked with the international body. On that note, we can introduce seeds on trials, but we cannot introduce seeds to be used as commercial seeds, because we don't even know how those seeds are in terms of performance in Sierra Leone. We don't know how adaptable they are. And I'm happy that he quickly mentioned the issue of multi-location trials. This is all part of research in the seed system. And Dr. Chakanda has been very proactive recently in sanitizing the seed system, because we have a lot of people bringing in seeds, in small bags, and then they begin to multiply. This is bad for the country, because by the time we know it, sometimes we introduce some exotic pests, we introduce some exotic diseases because of those varieties that are introduced. As they come, they get used to the ecology in Sierra Leone, but also they attract other foreign things that might hamper the growth of the agriculture sector. Let me just leave Dr. Chakanda to just clear some few issues regarding how now they are intensifying the seed sector by ensuring that they regulate the private sector. As a ministry, we now have what we refer to as a policy shift. We have moved from direct input distribution to farmers through the private sector. We even introduced the e-voucher system. But the two agencies, the seed agency, which is in charge of seed and fertilizer, are regulating the private sector, because if we allow people to just bring in seeds for fertilizer without being checked, this will undermine the efforts of the government to improve on the sector. So for that, as I'm talking, Dr. Chakanda has done a lot of work with the private sector, testing seeds, doing some sampling, and also ensuring that farmers comply with the provisions in both the acts and the regulations relating to seeds in this country. Time is running fast. Let me just leave it at this point for other players to come in. Thank you.
Amos, go ahead. Madam Sarah, her hand is up. I'm co-hosting the program with Mr. Amos. Mr. Amos is going to be the CFO of the TCC. He's in Nigeria. He's been part of Transit from the beginning. He's an incredible person, and he's looking forward to come to Freetown and go to Bumbuna, to Kono,
Yes,
to all those places.
Yes,
Yes, Mr. Amos is a banker, investment banker, and has done massively well in those type of industries. So I see Madam Sarah's hand up. So Madam Sarah. Madam Sarah, I hope the network has not dropped her. All right. I think she's gonna come back. She's gonna come back on board. While we're waiting for her, what I want to say is I want to again express my gratitude. And we are inviting you both. Right from inception, I have been in contact with both of you, and that is Mr. Dennis Yangsin and Dr. Chakanda. even before we started meetings. And the reason is that to ensure that you are assured that we value checks and balances, we value your work and what you're investing in and in developing systems. And we want to ensure that we lock arms with you and that we are able to advance our country and we're able to promote agriculture and agribusiness in the country alongside with all of you at the Ministry of Agriculture. And so we don't intend to do anything that would in any way deter what you have already worked hard to accomplish. I will remain in contact with both of you and many more as effectively as I can. I have even connected the general manager for the activities in Sierra Leone, Madam Ruth Sisay, and I think she has visited Dr. Chakanda already in his office, and they've established communications, and we intend to keep it that way as we go forward. Madam Sarah, go ahead, ma'am. Can you unmute yourself and then go ahead? Yes.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Madam Sarah.
Yes, I needed to just probably make a comment or raise a concern. The comments that I've just heard that soybeans wouldn't be the first priority probably to Sierra Leone. I think soybeans has, from my experience in Zambia and in the southern region, this part of the world,
yeah,
soybeans has high value both to humans and also to animals. When you look at the ingredients that they use to making animal feed, you find that soybeans has a huge component, and maize is, and also maize meal is one of the components. So I think it's high time that we should consider soybeans, even when it comes to humans in our country, and even in the refugee camps. They actually use herbs to feed those our brothers and sisters that come from war-torn countries. So I think it would be vital for us to consider soybeans going forward, because when you look at the nutritional value in the maize grain, you find that you can't compare it to soybeans. So I think the campaign for soybeans should be taken seriously. And also, I just heard from Dr. Chakanda on the issues of why the country wants to champion the maize varieties, that they're on high demand and that there's potential. I think we also have about 4 maize varieties, and these are coming from Kenya. That's where we got them from, but it's under the Bill Gates Foundation. But these are non-GMO, because as the law Zambia doesn't allow any genetically modified seeds to come in the country.
Sorry, let me mute this. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I've muted
Yes.
them. Yeah.
So as a law, Zambia does not champion any genetically modified crops, regardless of the crop itself, whether it's maize, soybeans, or any other. And also the value that soybeans carries is that it's a drought resistant crop. I think Dr. Chakanda can shed more light on that. It's easily grown, and the value of soybeans compared to the value of maize, soybeans is very high. And the other question, actually the last question I have for the doc is, I think, I don't know what mechanism, like for instance, I'll give an example with seed certification in Zambia. Deliberately, the Zambia seed certification have eased some rules when it comes to the rural population. Hello?
I'm sorry, madam.
They have eased, they have
so
eased the rules on growing of soybeans, because they want they want so many rural people to, to have access to this seed, and because of the value that it comes with. Because sometimes if they're not going to sell it, they will use it for home consumption. So I wanted to find out from the doc if there is any deliberate ways that your ministry, together with your government, can literally facilitate for access to legume seeds to the rural populace, because that will also help in reduction of malnutrition and so many other ailments that come with poverty. I think I rest my case unless something comes up from his answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Sarah. Maybe Dr. Chakanda, I know you're still with us. What I just wanted to add quickly, to what Madam Sarah has said is, maybe the question is, how did I also became sold in bringing in soybeans? I think that is also a critical thing. Actually, the choices of these three products or produce wasn't just made lightly and wasn't made in consideration of one only component. There is a standing agreement. Madam Sarah was sponsored by an organization, an agricultural organization here in the US, that invested in how she started in Zambia, and also she has a manufacturing or some kind of manufacturing plant that was also financed to kickstart everything. And the understanding is, if she's successful, she would be able to recommend another country. And since soybeans is the predominant thing they were doing there, it's a high produce, like she's the best advocate for it. And also I've done some research, and Dr. Chakanda, and I know Mr. Yankson also would have an in-depth understanding in this area, is that upon her recommendation, they can also come and give us similar support as they've done for her country. And so any one of you, if you were in my position, kickstarting something like this, it would be a fantastic opportunity. Now, I'm not saying it may happen tomorrow or today, but let us kickstart this. But that is in the back of our mind, and we're working towards it. And should we succeed in this initial investment, even if it's a minimum size within the soybeans, so that we can have a seed to scale next time, once it does well in the country and it's approved and released by the Ministry of Agriculture, then that could give us a tremendous opportunity for even exports, because then the manufacturing plant could be something that would be almost like a given for it to be sponsored in our country, wherein now we would be able to produce vegetable oil and other different produce. So in this journey that we are just getting started, it's not just the initial funding that we're going to embark on alone, but there are other organizations behind us that is also watching everything we're doing. Should we succeed in collaborating with the government, in collaborating with all you guys out there, and we're able to kickstart, and they are going to come, not for shares, just to see success in what we are doing over there. So I want us to keep that in mind as well as Doc answers the questions that Madam Sarah has raised. Doc,
Thank you. You hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you now,
Hello?
sir. Yes, sir, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And Sarah, I really want to thank you and give you a huge thumbs up for thinking about Sierra Leone together with your colleagues and Steve and all, because moving from one level to another, especially in agriculture, is something that Sierra Leone is looking forward to. So to come to your point directly about soybeans, in fact, if the question of preference was not being asked, it would have been very, very easy, because introducing new technologies promoting a new crop. Not that soybeans are not present in Sierra Leone, but on a very, very small scale.
Yeah.
And you talk about cowpeas.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the same family of legumes and so forth.
Yeah.
My point was, if there was preference for large scale and medium scale for now, just immediately. But then I didn't rule out soybeans altogether.
Yeah.
So if we have to bring it in, to be honest, let's not forget that it will be a starter.
Yes.
It will be too virgin to this country. And that we have in mind, I believe, with whatever skills and emphasis and the promotion that Madam Sarah may have done in Tanzania and other countries to bring this crop to light. It is a very, very important crop. I mean, what Madam Sarah also mentioned as an advantage, it uses less fertilizer because it's a nitrogen fixing plant, just like any other legume. So also, she mentioned it's drought tolerant, and thinking about climate change, it could be categorized into one of the climate smart crops, you know. So it is very important, but we cannot just come one day and want to grow 50 hectares. The people to be too new to the local communities. And what I envisage is a two-pronged approach. A commercial production, which is made mainly mechanized for all the crops, and maybe storage facilities, bringing in technical people who know how to handle the crop, and also farmer-led. She was talking about poverty alleviation.
Yep.
So if you introduce a crop to the farmer for poverty alleviation, which is really not too, he or she's not too conversant with, we may need a lot more time. However, having said this, it is really, really a welcoming news. If even soybean can be introduced this year, we watch it on some kind of scale, you know, and before we know it, it becomes popular. And I know the farmers will like it, traditional people will like it. It's a very nutritious kind of food as a whole, and the supplement as well, I mean, for our traditional dishes. So, Madam Sarah, be rest assured, we are not ruling out soybean. It's just like not to be shocked. You come suddenly to Sierra Leone, you're not.
I know the network.
See the system, and we may have to spend some time teaching how to cultivate it.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you so much, Doc. And I guess at this point, I want to talk about the critical component that Doc has been mentioning from the beginning, and that is the next stage of our intervention process. And that critical component is the technical knowledge transfer to our people. So, and one of the strategic decisions that I made some 2 years ago is that while I had so many other interventions that I want to implement in my country, I thought it's wise that it is better for us to start with an accredited, registered, and vibrant tertiary institution in my country, in Sierra Leone, that would have international links and instructors and professors that can become a medium of knowledge transfer. Because I know that there could be some interventions that would require exactly that. And from me hearing, you know, the number of times the need for training, the need for skill training for our farmers, skill training for our labor force in the country. And it's really validating my assumption at the beginning when I started Transit College. Transit College is located in Kono and in several other locations across the country. But above all, we have an online platform that is robust and that can be used for training today. As we speak, because our intervention is, we want to start this year, September, October, November. We are currently in high conversations with the Ministry of Agriculture in Zambia and the University of Zambia. And they have a component that is very practical in they have a component of the University of Zambia that they call Natural Resource Development College, NRDC in Lusaka. And we have, Madam Sarah and myself have been in full engagement with the lecturers and those people who have done research in this product and have seen success in Zambia. And we are trying to have affiliation between them, between the University of Zambia through this NRDC, which is Natural Resource Development Center, with a department within the Transit College. This is a department also called Natural Resource Development Center, not college, because we are Transit College. So that we want to collaborate and also be able to have affiliations, have their instructors, and also instructors from the Ministry of Agriculture and from professionals within the country, Sierra Leone, and maybe from other places from here as well, so that we want to run short-term courses that are highly professional, but that will not exclude those who may not have gone to school higher, like you and I. And by the way, we have piloted this process in Zimi. When we started transit in 2020, so in December 2020, we started a program that we had over 60 students, and in Zimi, Pujao district. And the program was a 4-month certificate course on entrepreneurship, agriculture, business management. It was 4 main courses that we ran. And we had some people who were even illiterate take part of this course. So what we did, we grouped them into 3. So every group must have at least one lettered one, somebody who graduated from WASC, at least one of them from high school. That's in my country. When we say WASC, we mean like somebody who graduated from secondary school ready to go to college. So so we ran that program, that pilot program in Zimi, and over 50, I think it's about 59. I have Reverend Dr. Safili here, who is the registrar that conducted the program and the graduation. Dr. Safili, can you hear me, sir? Hello, Dr. Safili, I know you are muted. Reverend Doctor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you live and clear.
Okay, sir. Reverend Dr. Safili is the registrar of Transit College in Sierra Leone. Can you talk to us briefly about what we did, the intervention in Zimi, the composition of the students, what they graduated with, sir? Please. Dr. Safili, you are muted again.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, go ahead,
no,
sir.
I think I'm not muted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
With a network.
We can hear you now. We can hear you.
Yeah. So they for sure. Yeah, we ran the program. All right. We ran the program in Zimi, as CEO as well said, and there we have over 59 students who graduated from 4 courses. We have logistics and supply management. We have agriculture as part of it, and then we have some aspect of business for them to be oriented in terms of business. And then when we run that program, majority of them, especially for the women, they were not schooled, but they're very much interested. And transit, we have a vision that everybody is important. Everybody has got a role to play. So we incorporated them. And then, as we always say, we share them into groups of 3. At least every group must have one person who has not got the opportunity to darken the walls of a school, so they can be able to bring them up to the level that they to be able to be useful. And I don't know if they were able to give them to go through the course. It was a 4-month program, and it was very exciting. It was very fruitful. And they were even asking after the first set we graduated, we have more people who were asking for the program.
I know the network.
They too want to be part of that. See, people were very much excited and very bad, right?
No, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yes, even though you've not gone through a tertiary education, but Transit was able to provide a platform to bring them and train them in the area they were interested in, and it was very much fruitful. And they were actually the people who are pioneering the other people that you can come to this particular institution. There's a lot more you can learn from it. So I think it was well piloted, and we're ready to replicate that, that to be able to bring in more people, give them more informed information idea that when they go back to their respective discipline, they can become more productive. Not the same that you have to be there. Some of them, yes, it may not be their fault that they've not got maybe a secondary education, but at least we created a platform. It's just something basic to teach them basic things for 4 months participatory, that it's not something just we teach and then just allow them, but it was participatory. They were part of the process, having an assignment done, having the practicals being done, and everybody was involved for 4 months consecutively, very intense, and that yielded so much fruit that we have to actually replicate that program. So the pilot was very successful, and I'm sure we have all what it takes to replicate it in other parts of the country, to making sure that people actually who think they are of no value to society, that we can give them value and become more productive in respect to their academic background before. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc. So now let me just say this. The vision I had in mind for that project was 2 things. One, we wanted to have an agricultural farm, Transit itself, a farm. And then we have an outgrower farms that are run by the farmers, so that these students, when they come to the class on the weekends to learn, and then, so these students will come to class on the weekend to learn. And then during the week, they can, and on the weekend also, they can see the practicals of how we do it in our farms, so that during the week, they can go replicate the same thing to their farms, having our instructors, having access to those who are instructors and agronomists among us or among them that can also guide them. So in the process, we are growing the farms. At the same time, they are growing their farms in the process. So, but what was lacking at the time, we didn't have the farm yet, We Transit, so we had to do the practicals in their farms. So, but this time, but at least I know the kind of, at least we have the records. I mean, in Zimi, for 59, almost 60 students to graduate. In fact, many of them, they said that was the first time they saw such an exciting, graduation take place in their town. And I was on Zoom, like I'm on Zoom now, and I was so touched by everything that happened that time. So with the kind of intervention we want to do now, what we are trying to do now is to plan along with the Ministry of Agriculture in Zambia and the Ministry of Agriculture in my country, Sierra Leone, to develop short courses. I'm thinking more like 4 to 8 weeks. I mean, 6 to 8 weeks, wherein the first set of 6 to 8 weeks would be a general overview of agriculture, especially customized in these 2 countries, or generally in Africa, but particularly in Sierra Leone, where we are kickstarting all of this. And then after that is done, then by September, we can now start. We want to start this general one by the middle of next month, which is July. And then, and we're going to make, I'm sorry, Train. We are going to make the registration so easily for this first one, and we're going to continue to collaborate with the Ministry of Agriculture and the leadership, the principal, the registrar of Transit College, and the leadership of Transit College on the ground to develop the curriculum, and the people from Zambia, for us to be able to come up with this 6 to 8 week general course that's going to start from the middle of July. And then by the end of August, we are going to kickstart the specification. So if somebody wants to now study more on seed multiplication, seed testing, and seed certification process in Sierra Leone or in the country where they live, then the next 6 to 8 weeks would concentrate just in that area. And then the last 2 weeks, we can connect with the local farmers that are doing seed multiplication in these different countries, including Sierra Leone, for the students to be able to go at least 3 different days in that farm, to be part of them and to see the process in practice in those farms in the different countries. So we are collaborating with Zambia to try to put up this kind of training. So while people are doing seed, there are people that will be studying fertilizer, pesticides, their management, their movement, their, their storage, and the chemistry behind it, the dangers around it, all of those things. 6 to 8 weeks. We're not studying anything else, but just focus on fertilizer and pesticides. And equally so for different types of agriculture or agricultural components that we're going to do. So we want to pick out 6 to 12 critical components that are absolutely needed. And those programs, we intend to implement the same pilot program we did so that the illiterate women and men in the rural communities are not excluded. So what we are going to do, we will do what we did in Zimi, wherein we will have some illiterate people and literate. We create them into three groups. So the project would be for all 3 of them. The assignment would be for all 3 of them. The practicals would be for all 3 of them. And the course and everything would be. So we are going to now, this moment, hopefully as they are starting it in September, maybe the middle of September, that time we would also be planting our seeds. So then it becomes a practical location where our own technicians and agronomists and teachers and lecturers, alongside with the Ministry of Agriculture officials, we can actually give that practicals to them. And then we can introduce the outgrower system where they can also be doing agriculture in their farms, so that as we are doing ours, they are implementing what they are learning from us into their farms, with the assurance that we would buy their harvest, that whatever the quantity that become harvested, instead of them selling them in small pieces or quantities, we can Transit Agribusiness can buy at a holistic, the whole thing at a market price, at a competitive market price for the rural farmers. So we want to do that. And while we are doing this, remember, we are going to be able to supply seed to them, the outgrowers, I mean. We'll be able to, whatever we do in our farm, like fertilizer, we will also be able to supply fertilizer and pesticides, and our consultants, and even the Ministry of Agriculture coordination to ensure that when they visit our farms, their farms are visited. And we're also working on the area of insurance. And hopefully we're working on an expert in providing agribusiness insurance. There's one that is already among us, but I didn't see, he was here last week, but he's not here today. But hopefully next week, we will bring some agribusiness insurance experts on this training that would come and speak to us about agribusiness insurance. Now, since we don't have agribusiness insurance in Sierra Leone, what we've decided is to get somebody who is certified to provide, like a broker, to be able to sell insurance in Sierra Leone, so that we can set up an insurance agency, not an insurance company, an insurance agency that can have an insurance broker that would be able to now source out insurance. I was shocked when I did the research to find out how many big insurance companies within the continent of Africa that are actually providing insurance for African countries. So if we have a certified insurance broker in Sierra Leone and working with our agency, they will be able to source out those insurance policies from those big companies that would be able to provide that insurance coverage, real insurance coverage, not fake insurance coverage, real one, that if anything happened in the farm, that both the outgrowers and our farms are covered. Our insurance will cover our policy would cover both our farms and the outgrowers that are going to be with us. So I think I've said too much. Let me let Doc come back in. And I see both of our experts, their hands are up. So Dr. Chakanda, after you, then we go to Mr. Dennis Yankson. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I mean, the more we discuss, the more we get an overview of where Transit College is coming from and where it's going to. I mean, I've been talking about seed, but I now know a whole lot about what it is about. I think I told you, was it yesterday or the day before, that I saw a coverage of the Transit University in Kano.
Yes,
honestly, whilst we are talking, I go to Kona almost every weekend or every other weekend, and then I say, but where is this campus? But when I saw that coverage, I got very, very impressed, and I've just made it a point to make sure I visit the campus when next I'm in Kona.
Thank you.
However, I raised my hands because I have to make a long drive from Bo to to Freetown. I just waited today for this meeting that I'm not in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Whereas it happens, normally it happens like that, and then I miss a meeting. But then I would just like to ask permission for my leave that I will enter Freetown before midnight. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you so much. We'll stay in touch with you. We'll keep you posted, and we'll continue. And this wouldn't be the last time you're going to be here, sir.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. Oh, no, I'm so interested.
Yes,
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for everyone on board. The Young Scene, I know we're going to see tomorrow. I'm going to your office. We got to talk more about fertilizer and seed. Okay, then. Good night.
All right. Thank you, sir.
So, thank you so much, Doctor. We so much appreciate this, and this is not taken for granted. And we are so honored that you are also identified that with the platform we are building. So your contributions, your recommendations, they are well noted. And of course, as we go ahead to fight tuna investment policies and all of those things, so a lot of all these things will also be taken into consideration. So thank you so much. God bless.
And we wish you a safe ride to Freetown back. We pray your ride to Freetown and meet your family well. Thank you.
Sir. Safe ride, sir. Safe ride. May God keep you for us.
Amen. I need now.
Okay, sir. Yeah, yeah, Mr. Yankson, I see your hand up. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. First of all, let me just comment on the issue of soybean being looked at as least in the priority of the crops, the targeted crops. First of all, let me flag here that these three crops fit very well into the National Agricultural Transformation Program 2023, which is our flagship, strategy for the ministry in terms of enhancing food security. While recognized that soybean is very important to promote nutrition security, we are all aware that it's the richest legume plant source of protein, and it has very high protein content compared to the other legumes. And again, we also recognize that it contributes greatly to the livestock sector. Not only the grain legume itself, the grain, but also even the fodder will contribute towards the development of livestock. And it's also good for the cassava subsector because we can even add value to the cassava subsector. Like, for example, gari, which is our local food, one of our local food stores produced from gari, can be fortified. So fortification can be done to increase its nutritional value. And therefore, consequently, this can also intensify cassava production because if people know that there is now fortification be done on cassava through the use of soybean, then people will now be motivated to produce more cassava. But again, we don't want to look at soybean as being low in terms of scaling.
Okay.
In Sierra Leone at the moment, as I mentioned earlier, I don't know where the factory is, but they are also currently producing soya milk as a drink, which is being sold in most of the shops. And the cost is a bit high, which means there's potential, as I said, for soybean production. But as mentioned by Dr. Chakanda, it's a pretty new crop. Not very new, but it's pretty new for farmers in terms of production compared to the others. So this means it will take time for farmers to be motivated to increase production of soybean. However, there's a lot of education that is required on its nutritional value and utilization, and this will promote the diversification drive of the government. And I'm also particularly heightened by the brief given for Transit College in Sierra Leone. Some of these things are new to us. We didn't know that things are happening, in some corner. The training is very interesting. And for me, I think it also contributes to human capital development, which is a trust for the government for now. There has been a lot of investment in human capital development. So this intervention will add to that direction. And I'm happy that you mentioned series of key aspects that we like to include in the training content or curriculum.
Yes, sir.
for farmers and other youths, maybe young men and women.
Yep.
You know, as part of what Travis College will be doing in Sierra Leone to support the country.
Yeah.
I think this is a step in the right direction. To be honest, if there are tailored courses that looks at specific issues within the agriculture sector and also the business sector,
yep.
I think this will motivate young men and women to say, let me specialize in this aspect. If somebody can specialize in pesticide and fertilizer, for example,
yeah,
he can be an expert.
Yep.
To be spraying farms, an expert will be applying fertilizer for farmers, even the private sector, you know, because some people don't know how to apply fertilizers. Because of that, they either apply too much of it or they waste it. So if training can be done, wherein there's specialization in certain aspects of agriculture, I think it will help and add value to what the ministry is already doing in terms of extension. You know, so for me, I think let me commend Travis College, and in particular for Steve Mass, for the Reverend for the initiative in you know, introducing or initiating some of these programs in Sierra Leone, which I would say are not very common in some of the colleges. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And please kindly expect Madam Ruth. Madam Ruth is helping us as a marketing consultant, and she has been doing a fantastic job. And I believe she would meet with you for all of us to add into the customization and the development of these courses. But we are hoping that they would be short-term courses at least, so that we can be able to gauge interest. And then after that, those who want to go more deep into any particular subject, then they can secure a diploma and maybe BSc or master's eventually as time go by. But for now, we want to run those private, those short-term courses. Thank you so much. Is there any, I saw a question, and since Mr. Dennis, since you are here, there's a question on the text that says that, do we have the vegetation for all of the 3 products, meaning maize? And do we have any kind of science reports on this or technical data that that you have in the Ministry of Agriculture for these 3 areas, sir? Mr. Yankson.
Let me hasten to say that firstly, these crops are widely grown in Sierra Leone, you know, except for soybean,
yeah,
which is pretty new, but mostly people cultivate it around Cambia and some Kwenadugu. But now, even in Tonkolili, when I was working with Concern Worldwide, we introduced soybean as part of the crops we are promoting to farmers, you know. But in terms of utilization in Sierra Leone and production, maize is widely grown in Sierra Leone. Groundnut is widely grown. It's suitable for both upland as well as lowland ecology, particularly the IVS, where they can grow groundnuts on raised beds. Again, the availability of these varieties, I would say the maize, Western yellow is mostly available. And also, even for soybean, there is what we refer to as Linux 1, which we call GL24. And for soybean as well, we have some varieties that has been released by Slurry, the research institution.
Mm-hmm.
But we have areas that we refer to as comparative advantage. These are referred to as belts. For example, for maize, Tonkolili and Moyamba, that's corridor, are the most suitable areas for maize cultivation.
Okay.
Maize is mostly grown as mixed crop. Maybe they grow maize and rice or maize and some other crop, you know, but very few farmers grow maize as a sole crop. But if you go to those areas, you know, Moyamba district and Tonkolili, in fact, I would say they are border districts. Mm-hmm. They cultivate those in you know, as sole crop. And those are popularly known areas. Just like we have rice, we have areas that we refer to as rice belts, like the Tomabom area, the Bonda Peas, you know, the Kumabamila and Tonkolili. You know, we have areas that can do well more than other areas. However, even though they are grown in all parts of the country. So even for soybean and groundnuts, we know they are very important for soil fertility improvements. While the cost of fertilizer is soaring, I would say at a geometric progression. We will encourage crops that will help farmers to minimize cost of production. So groundnuts and soybeans, we all know these crops can add nitrogen to the soil. They can boost soil fertility because they possess nitrogen fixing potentials. So they can enrich the soil, and this can also help in terms of climate smart agriculture, because we are now trying to reduce most of what we are doing in terms of conventional agriculture so that we can minimize the effects of climate change. So in a nutshell, I would say these crops are widely grown. These crops are adaptable, but for the last one, which is soybean, we need to take some time in terms of multiplication or even to expand its production to many areas in the country. But let's do some trial. We can try this a bit in one part, and let's see how to come out. And we'll also intensify education, because it's only when people know about a particular crop that they will develop interest and then continue to even adopt the practice of growing it on their own.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Is there any other question? Thank you, sir. You've done a fantastic job in explaining and breaking all of this down. And above all, what is more critical is the fact that you're both and many more within the Ministry of Agriculture are ready to work with us side by side as we journey through this. Any other question for Mr. Yang-Sin or anything, anyone? Does anyone have any questions, please?
Maybe also let me let you know that very little attention has been paid or given to soybean production as a ministry. I mean, again, this justifies the reason why it's not widely grown by farmers compared to other crops. The focus was mainly on groundnuts, which women like to grow because they know it's very expensive.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and for me, to be honest, I'm excited about the opportunity because that means we don't really have much competition in soybeans. So the next time, when maybe 2-3 years from now, when you see soybeans in large quantity, you just know that could have only come from transit. So that is also an exciting footprint that we are going to leave in the country, hopefully. Go ahead, Madam Ruth.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Yang-Sin. Happy again to meet with you. Of course, Mr. Yang-Sin has been a colleague. He's a strong technocrat in terms of agriculture issues in Sierra Leone.
Good.
So we are happy to be on board. Of course, I told everyone that I'll be meeting with you. I will link you after this meeting. Yeah. And the other clarifications I'm happy is that at least it has been technically confirmed that yes, by the two of you, Doc and you, that soybean is a go area. The only thing is that in terms of scale, we need to watch that out, but it's an area that we can go into. Yeah. So we appreciate that clarification. It will also help us finalizing other business direction we are working on and plans. Thank you very much. Other questions, I'll be meeting you, one-to-one to discuss further.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Madam Ruth. Please, let's do everything we can to put together the courses so that hopefully by next week, we would have all of them itemized and we're ready to now market them out so that by the middle of next month, we can start the first 6 weeks, which is a general overview of agriculture. Is there any other question, please? Any comment, any question? Madam Sarah? Is there any other question from any other person?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me, again, of course, Ruth, as she mentioned, was a colleague. We worked together with Concern Mobile for quite a while.
Okay.
But it's good for you to know that in Tonkolili, we were working with the Sierra Leone Agricultural Research Institute, particularly Jala Agricultural Research Center, to do training in food processing and preservation. And soybean was among the key crops that we are promoting. That's why I said we tried it in Tonkolili and we realized that it was doing well. They were doing training on production of soy milk, soy cake, various recipes, which farmers, some of them are currently producing them on their own. because of the knowledge and skills they bring from Slurry. So this means while we say it's new, it's not very new in some communities. So this can be upscaled, based on the methodology that's will be applied in terms of engaging farmers and making sure that they are fully aware of its nutritional value as well as its agricultural value for soil fertility improvements and also reduction in cost of production for utilization of fertilizer. So I will also request that in the intervention arrangements, there's need to engage Slurry for also some technical support as well as, to talk to them about lessons learned and challenges faced in soybean production. There's a guy called Lance Nasise, who is in McKinney, who is the zonal officer, who has been actively involved in the training of farmers, not only in Tonkoli, but also with NGOs across the country. This is just information that I need to.
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it. And if you can share his number with me and Madam Ruth, that would be fantastic. We'll reach him tomorrow and follow through to set up all of this. I know we have spent a lot of time and I don't want us to take your time that much, but nevertheless, at this point, I really want to appreciate all of you, your patience, your commitment. We are praying and join us pray that with this momentum in agriculture that we have picked up, next year we're looking for an appropriate time, either before the election or after the election, because in my country they have elections. We have elections next year, either before that or after that. We're planning and we're praying. We're not planning, we're just praying, and keep that in mind to just keep the momentum to organize an international summit in nothing else but agribusiness for young people. We want to bring the youth, the bike riders, people from the interiors and all different walks of lives, and some other young people that are doing successfully well in other countries in agriculture, for them to come, and we bring them in one location, and then we have a wonderful time and have a great summit in agribusiness. This is the time we cannot be left behind. We have to be in the driver's seat. There are so many things that are happening in these millennial goals that Sierra Leone has been left behind, and many other countries are getting the monies, but we haven't we haven't created the structure and the system to gain some of these monies. This is the moment that the private sector and also the international body and also the government should come together to energize, inspire, motivate, and drive the young people and everybody else towards agriculture, because it's clearly looking that is the future. We've neglected it for too long, so we are trusting God to guide us in terms of figuring out the most suitable time, location, and all that, so that we can come together and have a fantastic time in Sierra Leone on Agribusiness Summit next year. We're going to have it. Finally, before we leave today, we are making progress on the TCC, and I wanted to share quickly the leadership components that we've been thinking about, and I'll drop it also, but I just wanted to share it very briefly. So I'm gonna share screen now. I'm gonna share screen now, and so that at least you can take a quick look at our thoughts, what we are thinking, and then feel free to advise as you see fit. This is all of us, we are going to build it. So this is the organogram of TCC, of Transit Capital Corp, we're trying to set up now. So Transit Capital Corp.
Please expand it a bit.
Okay. Let me see. Let me expand it. Is this better? Okay. So, and I'm going to immediately after I finish talking about it, after this meeting, I'm going to put it into the investors forum as well. But I just wanted to say one or two things before we. before we leave. Please, let's mute our calls, except if we have questions. Let's mute our calls, please, because it makes it difficult when I'm doing the screen to see who is unmuted. So let's, okay. All right, so this is what we are looking at. To ensure transparency, we are going to set up a Transit Capital Corp advisory board that is part of the registration here, but that is not part of Transit Capital Corporation. They are not employees of Transit Capital Corporation. They have their own businesses. They have their own things they are doing. They are an independent body that oversees what myself and either we get a managing director specifically for the TCC or a special advisor, whatever the case may be. But the team, we would have a CFO, as you can see, a CFO and admin, and then a chief operating officer over here. And then we'll have either an MD or a special advisor who is going to work with them. And I'm not a finance guy, so I'm now going to I'm just going to be along with them and make sure that the reputation of Transit, the brand of Transit, is preserved. But be sure I will read every shred of every document that will be submitted. And then we also have the Transit Capital Corp Advisory Board. These are people from different walks of life. We have a lawyer that we are working through ensuring that all of these people will receive the right documentation at this initial level before we can introduce them. Some of them are currently running. In fact, the consultant that is working with me is currently running exactly what we are trying to do, a private equity firm in New York. So he's very familiar with the financial systems, the financial structures, registration processes. And interestingly, he's a very brilliant Sierra Leonean descent guy, somebody from Sierra Leone as well. And he's very thrilled about this. And the interesting thing, he's going to be here one day. And the interesting thing, and maybe when he comes here, I will say that again. The interesting thing is that another Sierra Leonean recommended that he talks to me. That this is what I designed. I remember he told me in his first call saying that, Steve, when they told me to talk to you about Sierra Leone investment, I told them, no, I'm not going to waste my time. I've been to Freetown. I've done this. I've tried to do this. I've tried to raise this, and it's not working. But I think they've been friends. The person that recommended me to him, they've been friends for over 40 years. So I think that person said to him, look, for the friendship of over 40 years, give him 5 minutes. Just talk to the man, 5 minutes. Don't give up on your country. Talk to this man. So when we talk and so on, now he's excited to be part of the board of TCC, and I'm so happy to have him and have all the rest of the other team that you are going to meet. But the people that are going to be part of this board are experienced. They are people of credibility, people of integrity, and people that have bought into the vision we're trying to promote, and people that have no other desire but to promote our business. They don't want our money. These people are they are running their own successful organizations or working gainfully employed somewhere else, that they just want to give us a hand. So that would be the board that will be supervising and overseeing everything I'm doing and the team is doing. Now, we are going to have, again, to work with me, either a managing director or a special advisor, as I will call them, somebody who has extreme experience in doing this kind of business. And also the CFO and admin that is going to be, has been my co-anchor here, Mr. Amos. Is going to be our CFO. He's done this for years, and as you can, I mean, many of you that have been hearing him, he's been part of Transit from the start. He's soaked with the vision of Transit. He's motivated. He couldn't wait to come to Sierra Leone. But as we know, Transit is not just for Sierra Leone. Eventually, it would also cover beyond Sierra Leone. He's from Nigeria, but he's a Sierra Leonean now. based on transit, but he's going to serve in that capacity. And also just so that I can name the administrative team. We don't have somebody, a special advisor yet. I'm still talking to some, and a managing director for this that would work with me on this, because I'm a civil engineer, I'm not a finance person, but nevertheless, I have responsibility to protect the branding transit. So it will require me to learn as much as I can, but I need somebody who has massive experience in that to also have the direct responsibility of overseeing the operations of this. The chief operating officer is not here today, but Mr. Suma, Jesmed Suma, who is also a Sierra Leonean, he has a tremendous experience. He's a man of integrity as well, who has consented to serve in that capacity. But we also have we are looking for an accountant or a finance person, a human resource person, a compliant person, somebody that makes sure that whether it's in Sierra Leone or in America or anywhere, that we are compliant, and somebody that can work with the COO in terms of operations, marketing to market what we're trying to do so we can get more investors to come in, and somebody that is looking into the technology aspect. So this side is the management. So these are the advisors. They are not part of Transit Capital Corporation. They review in line with the performance that would be set for the CEO or the managing director or the special advisor and the CFO and the COO team that will be managing this managing team over here. So they will be looking at performance set and performance achieved. They will be looking at results. They will be looking at practices, and they will be looking at compliance. And we would have a number for them. So just in case somebody within the staffing team sees that we're going out of the way, they don't have to call me directly. They can just call one of those board members to ensure that, that they are aware. And then we would be able to address some of those issues. They'll be meeting maybe once every quarter, so 4 times. So in case I reach out to you, if you're listening to me and I haven't gotten to you yet, please don't be scared. We're starting. It is only 4 times a year we expect that you would meet with this board. Please make yourself available for us to be able to bring this to existence. And then from there now, with this management team, and here are the investors, that is all of you that are hearing me. You are the one that own the capital, that is generating the capital, that is going to now invest. And this is the TCC Private Equity Funds, which is the capital that all of us would have raised to invest. And then from now, this capital, the investment, when the money is there and we have the management team, the board in place, then now we can assign, we call them fund managers. Now, these fund managers are accountable to TCC management team and the board. So these fund managers will be, they could be individuals or they can be a company. They would be specialists in agriculture. Let's say, for example, those who understand something about agriculture, they will be a fund manager. So whatever money that TCC is going to release to the transit agribusiness, is going to be released through these fund managers. And this is the fund manager would be the one that will be working with the general manager, the CEO, or the whole administrative team of the agribusiness. So they would be, side by side with the agribusiness management team to ensure that they are in sync and that the money that was released is being spent. So these people will be part of the kind of advisory board and management of the agribusiness, because he would be responsible to answer questions over here at the management level and also at the board level. Equally so for the college, the tertiary education. If the time comes for us to make investment in it, we would have somebody that is an expert in it that will be a fund manager. Technology and electronics, we intend, God willing, God give us the resources that we need to also have an investment bank, which we don't have in Sierra Leone, or maybe we have, but I don't know, that would also carry some loans. And again, please, this is a vision. I mean, I'm not going to say we're going to take as long as Jesus took when he said he was going to come and die for us, But please don't say tomorrow, in case we are unable to get the bank in a year, and you hold it against us and say, oh, it's just big talk. They are just talking and they haven't even opened the bank. This is a clear vision that we're just stating, a roadmap as to where we are going. If it takes us 10 years to get there, we will get there, but this is within our plan. And also in the healthcare, we have preliminary understanding and preliminary plans to set up a unique type of healthcare system that is privately run in the country, that is decentralized. Now, remember, everything we do at Transit is decentralized. Remember our model. We bring education, we bring TCC or agriculture, whatever we are going to do at the doorstep of the people. We bring whatever we are going to do at the doorstep of the people, not just Freetown, but even to the most remote place. And the second component of our model, no people are too small, no people are too poor, no people are too remote, and no people are too distant away that they don't deserve the opportunities that Transit is trying to bring, whether it's tertiary education or whether it's agribusiness, whether it's banking, whether it's technology, whatever it is that we're going to bring, no matter how far, no matter how small, no matter how poor, as long as they exist there, we will reach out and ensure and we bring it there. So engineering, construction, mining, and more, because we didn't state so many other things like real estate and other things that we are trying to do at Transit. So this is the overview of the TCC. Now remember, the TCC is going to be going simultaneously with the agribusiness. We have submitted all documentation for agribusiness in Sierra Leone for it to be registered. And once it is approved and everything is going and the investment is open, we would be developing this. This is a more complicated thing. And so it's gonna take a little bit, maybe a few more weeks for us to fully set up the TCC. But in the meantime, we are working with the agriculture and other components that we are working on to ensure that we are going towards the right direction. So at this point, does anybody has any recommendation, any question, anything whatsoever about this organogram? Because this is how your money is going to be managed. This is how your money is going to be overseen. So, and your voice matters. And so this is just a draft. Nothing is written on stone. So we want you to look at this and give us your opinion and your take. I'm listening now. Is there anyone who has an opinion, a question, or thought? Thank you. If you're muted, you want to say something, please unmute and say something. What are your thoughts about the TCC organogram, leadership structure? Is it okay? Do you have any concerns? If you don't comment now, you can comment later as well. But what are your initial thoughts now that you've seen this? Hello, are we there? Are we here?
Yes.
Hello.
I think. Okay.
Mr. Yancey, go ahead, and after you, Madam Ruth. Go ahead, Mr. Yancey.
I think it looks very clear in terms of the way it's been structured. And also, it's very ambitious, I know, but it takes time for one to achieve what you intend to achieve in the long run. And it's good to be ambitious at times. Again, the composition of the board, I don't know whether you can expatiate on that a little bit.
Yes.
Because
yes.
I don't, yes, because for the others, you explain a lot about them, but for the board itself, the advisory board at the top.
Yes.
Who will be in that board? You know, I just want a little bit of more explanation on that.
Okay, so the good thing, we are going to register it here first in the US and then in Sierra Leone. But the good thing that we have discovered through the consultant we have validated is that the initial information that I got that only Americans can be members of the board is not true. So at least it is open, just that the CEO and some, those that will be held accountable by the government here, probably like the chairperson, like the CEO, like the role I'm going to play in this. These are people that needs to be Americans, or at least American citizens, because I'm a Sierra Leonean first. So in answering your question, the composition of the board is all those representatives, like a specialist in agriculture needs to be there, a specialist in technology, a specialist, a lawyer, or somebody that is familiar with legal structures, somebody in education, somebody in healthcare. At this initial stage, since agriculture is what we are starting, I had spoken to you, Mr. Yangsin, personally, and I had spoken to Dr. Chakanda to be part of this as advice. This is an advisory board. It's an advisory board, and this is a for-profit. This is not an NGO. It's a for-profit business. So members of the board, each time they sit, they will be paid. And that is why the executive team, the management team, is there to ensure that there is a management fee in what we are doing, which takes care of all the other financial obligations that we are going to have to run the management of this. So the ministry will be represented. And there are, I think I said the last time how the board was going to be represented. I was looking at three main areas, three main critical components. One, professional diversity in the interest area we want to get in. So that is going to be represented. Secondly, national representations. So it wouldn't be all Sierra Leoneans only. There will be Nigerians there. There will be Zambians there. There will be other nationalities, especially within the African hemisphere. I would want for at least one or two Americans to be here too, because this is where we are going to host it. I'm not talking about African Americans. I'm talking about Americans, native or these Caucasians, even if it's one or two, to be part of this board as well and this team. So national representation, professional representation, and finally, gender sensitivity to ensure that it is not all masculine driven or feminine driven, that these three components, these three areas are looked at. There will be gender balance, and the board of advisors, we're thinking between 7 and 9 at most at this beginning stages, because we're a small company yet. So, but we want this representation to be there. Our goal really, our ideal goal is 7, but worst case scenario, it cannot go beyond 9, and that would include the chair. Now, I'm going to be part of the board, but not really a member of the board. I'm going to be there more so to represent, as the CEO, to represent the organizations. So I'll be working along with the chairperson just to be able to prepare the minutes and prepare the plans so that we can call a meeting in collaboration. But the board is independent, and they are going to vote on everything the board is going to be deciding on. So whatever they are going to vote on, I'm not necessarily going, I don't have a vote in that, but I sincerely trust that the caliber of people we are going to bring are goodwill people, are professional people who are in sync with the vision and have no interest in taking over anything. They just want to help us to move forward. But the composition is those three: gender, professional representation, national representation. So that even though we are starting in Sierra Leone, that it is beyond Sierra Leone. And some of the things, once resources start coming in, some of the things will not only be started in Sierra Leone, some of them can be started in Nigeria, some of them can be started other places as well, and then expanded in different other places. Madam Ruth. Madam Ruth, did you have something to say?
Yes, hello, good evening again.
Good evening.
And just to add to this investment drive we are working towards, I realize there are some people that joined today that we are not, part of the team, the normal team.
Yeah.
And I just want to encourage people. I don't know how far you've explained to them the pathway towards this TCC, but just for them to understand that all the exciting explanations and detailed information given on the agro business, that we are not yet having a donor for it, although we've had commitments for Madam Seya in Zambia, but from the budget, as you just said, like we've got 40% and there is 60% more. And we know, I mean, the piloting is going to be in Sierra Leone for now. But at the end of the day, also want to encourage Sierra Leoneans. We know for the TCC, it's going to be based in, the HQ going to be based in US. But in terms of investment, we know capital investment is a new thing to Sierra Leoneans, but I just want to encourage the Sierra Leoneans that are here, because at the end of the day, we will not expect other nationals to have dominated in terms of investment, dominating the investment drive. Then we expect the piloting to be dominated in Sierra Leone. And if we really, this is an opportunity we want to seize, and the best way we can seize it and is to be to be very interested in terms of the investments. It's not about the amount invested, it's about the interest. We know our income earning, we cannot compare with other countries or nationals that are represented here, but it's just the interest. We are still encouraging those that are joining this team to see this investments pathway as a good thing. Not only there was a time, I think 2 weeks back, we discussed the importance of such investments, not only to yourself, but to your kids and kids yet unborn. We named some family members in Sierra Leone. There are some nationals that are still enjoying wealth today because their forefathers built that foundation for them. So we want to be part of this team that we build a business foundation that even our kids yet unborn will benefit for. So that is just encouragement to everybody, but especially my brothers and sisters, Sierra Leoneans that are here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Ruth. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I believe next week we would build more on this capital investment and we'll talk more on this, the next steps. Well, please prepare to in no time we'll launch this, and the website is being prepared. And we are going to create a login and a lot of other things. So at this point, if there are, is there any other comment or any question before I hand over to Mr. Amos? Okay, thank you so much for coming. And I know we have stretched your time today too much. We are sorry about that. Mr. Amos?
So, all right, thank you, Steve. So this is just to also further give people confidence in the kind of platform that we're building, because at the core of what we're doing is actually what we call corporate governance, and corporate governance even start from the board. Like my MD would say that, you know, the fish we start to rotting from the head. But if you have a very good health, right? I mean, we can be so sure that, you know, we will get to the promised land. And so we are doing all of these things, right? Just to ensure that we have a very good, you know, very good start, a good foundation, you know. So the corporate governance has been, you know, held in a very team, like, you know, Reverend Steve mentioned. The people, you know, making all the composition on the board, they are totally, you know, they're totally independent, you know, board members, right? They're totally independent with the board members, but talking about technical skills, you know, they will have it. Talking about, you know, career achievements, you know, they will have it. Talking about, you know, gender balance, you know, we also try to preach that one, right? In the, you know, in a composition as we go forward. And but clearly, the essence of all this was that just as people are trusting us, that people are, you know, accountable, so we too, we also want to hold ourselves, you know, we also want to be accountable to the, you know, to the board, you know, so that if you agree that this is what we want to do, so we can come back and more, this plan that we have agreed, this is where we are on it. So if we know that, okay, come, you know, 3 months time, we're going to meet the board. So we're going to, that we actually put all of us on our toes to ensure that we always hit our numbers, to ensure that we always follow our budget, to ensure that, okay, we always go there with a milestone, you know, with a milestone, you know, story and report. So that's why all of these compositions, you know, They are very good. They are very critical, at this point. And these are the things that actually, that actually promote success, in every business. And if I'm talking about, sustainability, because what matters in business is sustainability. So this business, will thrive tomorrow, not because Steve is there, not because Amos is there, not because Manaro is there, not because. So even if you're not there, but we know that if you have laid a very good foundation, so whoever to even joins, or even join the train, the movie train, so it can be so sure that they need to build, on that legacy, because it's the legacy that the visionaries have actually put in place. So so it's very critical, because before now, we've seen a lot of concerns that people have expressed in terms of, okay, doing investments on people, and they just wake up tomorrow, the investment is no longer there and all of those things. But that's why we're taking time right now to lay a very solid foundation. So I want to say that I particularly have actually learned a lot of things from what, Dr. Robert actually, put on the table, and also what the other speaker, Mr. Dennis Yankson, also, his own contribution as well. And also the contribution from everybody, the questions asked and all that. So thank you so much for your time. Right now, we spent more than 2 hours right now in this in the meeting. Again, our greatest asset right now is not even the money, but even the time we're even committing. So the time that are committing, if you want to value, it's a lot of resources. So I really want to appreciate everybody, for taking time out to also be part of the meeting, today. So we don't want to encroach on too much of our time. So we're going to save our time again, I guess, next week. So we look forward to seeing you. So let's also invite whoever thought that he's not part of the meeting today, but who has previously been part of the meeting. So thank you so much. It's very engaging, and I wish you a successful week as we go ahead. God is going to guide us through this week in Jesus' name. Thank you. That's my closing remarks.
Done the meeting now, only from 6 o'clock back.
All right. Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. Amos. Before we leave, we have Cecil Rogers. Can you unmute yourself? Are you here? Could you just send us home with a short word of prayer, my brother? Cecil, can you hear me? Hello, Cecil. Hello, Cecil, can you hear me? I see here, I believe he must be hearing us. Cecil, can you hear me? We can't hear you. Maybe the network.
Hello.
Okay, we can hear you now. Could you send us home with a word of prayer, my brother?
Sure. Let's pray, please. Father, we are grateful again for another weekend meeting of the TCC. We thank you for bringing in the experts that we've had so much experience from. God, you will lead us into the paths of righteousness for sure.
Yes.
We are confident that we will certainly get to where you want us to go. Lord, we pray that you build this desire in us, Lord, to lift our nations as we come together from different countries, Lord. We should be beacons, Lord, into our different communities. We thank you, Lord, because this dream will be established, Lord, in every nation around Africa in particular.
Yes.
Lord, you will lead us, and we are confident in your leadership.
Yes.
Guide us in everything, meet all our needs, because there certainly will be needs. We pray that you meet every need in the name of Jesus. Lord, as we plan, you help us to plan. Certainly there will be another meeting next week. Lord, prepare us, make a way and to meet, and Lord, meet for effective reasons in the name of Jesus. We glorify you. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Yes, I want to recognize some people that I see that may have come late, or maybe the network was giving us problem. Professor Kevin Thomas is here. I don't know if you can hear me. You want to say hello to those who are hanging out. I see Julius Sambo and Sumana. I see all of you, Hannah, Flora, all of you, Brother Andrew. I just want to say thank you so much for coming. Professor Kevin, can you hear me, sir? Dr. Kelvin. Okay, maybe he can hear us. Well, thank you. Maybe next some other time we'll be able to get him to talk to us. We have credible people.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you, Mr. Yangson. Thank you for coming. We'll communicate with all of you. Thank you so much. God bless and good night.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Julius Sambo, thank you for coming.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right. If you haven't joined the forum, please connect with me so that I can join. I can send the link because that's where I'm going to send the recording. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, Brother Amos, we adjourn this meeting to next Sunday. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, young man. Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, all of
Yeah.
you. Yes.
Thank you, everyone, and good night. Bye.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Mr.
good
Davis.
night.
Yeah, and good night. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.